back to my channel, Planty Princess 92. My name is Ashley. Today we are going to finish up the year 2020 with a final plant tour. I did a plant tour in maybe sort of like the middle of the year, more towards the beginning of the year. When I first started my YouTube channel out, that was my first video. So it'll be very interesting to see all the plants I added into my collection since then. Let's go right ahead and get right into the tour. Okay, so I figured we'll start in the sunroom since this is where the majority of my plants are. We'll go over here to my smaller grow tent, and in here I mostly have Hoyas, but I also do have some Syngonium, a couple philodendrons, some Monstera, but let's go to the top shelf. Over here I have my Hoya Kentiana variegata. This plant is so pretty, the way the edges of the plant get pink, as well as how dark the leaves come in. When it's sun stressed, that's when you start to see the pink come in. Mine doesn't have any of that right now, but I really can't wait to start seeing that on this beautiful plant. Over here, I have the Hoya Finlansonii. This is the Nova variety. Back there, I have my Hoya elliptica, still going strong. Right here, I have Hoya carrii, the inner variegated form. I have the Hoya Syngoniums, I believe. And as you can see, her tendril goes all the way up there. I really love the venations in this plant, as well as how elongated the leaves get. It's extremely beautiful. Right here in the front, I have my Hoya AH27, I believe, silver. I really love the silver in the middle along with the dark green edges. I think it looks extremely beautiful the way the contrast is. This Hoya has been growing really nice for me. It finally put out a new leaf, which is this one right here, and I can't wait to start seeing some more of those. Here I have the Hoya obscura. This is another one with the elongated leaves and some nice venations. I don't have any trailers yet, but you can see that she's starting to trail and she has some new leaves coming in, which is always a plus. Back here we have the Hoya botanica. This leaf right here is the only one that has grown new so far. So I'm just waiting for her to start getting some new leaves. We have the Hoya australis lisa. This is another very beautiful one with the variegation. The Hoya pubicalyx splash. That one's a super fast grower for me. Here I have a bunch of Hoyas clustered into one little tray here. Right in the front I have the Hoya darwinii. This plant lost a leaf, if you noticed, from my Happy Holidays Hoya haul. I don't know why. She's not really growing that great for me, but hopefully she will be saved and keep growing. There is a new grow point coming in there, so hopefully that will kind of start her off. We have the Hoya bordenii. I love how thin the leaves are. This is another one that the leaves get really long and nice venations. There I have the Hoya Kalina, and that's one that gets really pretty when it's sun stressed. We have the Hoya Fitchii, Hoya optimistic, which, as you can see, the leaves and the stems are fuzzy, so it has a really nice texture to it. The Hoya Pottii is another one with kind of distinct venations, and it kind of reminds me of like a potbelly. This one has recently just got that new leaf there, but it's been growing very slow for me. And last but not least, on this top shelf, we have the Hoya Pachyclada New Moon. This is another one that gets that pink edging when given enough light, but even without the pink edging, it's just so beautiful, the variegation on this Hoya. We'll move down to the second shelf. Right in the front, I have the Monstera stiltobacana. Then behind her, I have a cutting, the top cutting I took from my Hoya australis lisa. We have in the back the Hoya SPIV from WMZ. Another one with some nice leaves, nice venations, and it does get extremely beautiful when it is sun-stressed. Here I have a Monstera Standeliana. That is a cutting that I made. We have the Hoya Numuloroides. And I'm really not sure what that is right there because the leaf fell off of it, so I really don't remember. So that is unknown and we'll find out sometime soon. Here I have my Syngoniums Silver Lady. I really couldn't wait to have this plant because I love how the leaves almost look as if like they're like cheetah print sort of. But this one is definitely a slow grower. Maybe that's because I got it right before winter hit. So we'll have to see in the spring how this one grows, but either way, she is beautiful. We have the Hoya Parasitica Variegata. This has grown extremely well for me. You can see that I have one tendril coming here, starting to go underneath. And then I have another tendril that is coming up through the top. And she has just been growing so fast for me. Behind her, we have the Hoya Sunrise. And I recently just started getting new leaves from her as well. But now that she's gotten a couple leaves, she's starting to kick off there. Another great sun-stressing Hoya. In the front, we have my Syngonium Albo. I really love how the mature leaves, they get so stark white and the green gets really defined. They even have some patches of like a silvery green in there, which also looks very beautiful. That has been a really great grow. I propagated this plant a few times and she is doing great. Here we have a few Syngonium Raii. This is a smaller Syngonium, and the leaves kind of remain pretty small, but they have that like sort of iridescent autumn color to them if the light hits them the right way, and also that velvety texture, which is really pretty. Right behind her, you see I have the Peperomia Peppermill. We'll go down to the third shelf. Here in the front, I have my Philodendron Brantianum, and she is actually growing really great for me as well. You can see she has a new leaf popping up there. I've also took a few cuttings from this, and she is just boosting me with new growth. Here I have the unknown Syngonium species, also known as the lance leaf Syngonium. I really love the way the leaves are super thin, how it's dark in the middle and then kind of just spreads out to a lighter green. Behind her, I have my Syngonium Cardi Road, a great grower. I have my propagation rooted now, it's rooted, of my variegated money tree. And the variegation is getting so beautiful, as you can see. She's coming in with a new, I guess, leaf, even though they have more than one leaf on them, but that one is growing extremely well for me. I have a rooting Syngoniums trubii. You can see that leaf is yellowing. I left it on just to provide it some extra energy, but she is growing a new leaf there. And then right here, I have a cutting of the Syngonium lance leaf. In the back, we have the Hoya Bella Variegata. That one started to kind of die off on me. I took some cuttings of it, rerooted it, and now it is growing fabulous. We have another Hoya Elliptica. And then we have the Hoya Fungii. I really love how big the leaf is and how the venations kind of spider through the leaf. There's no new growth yet, but I'm just waiting for her to throw some growth out. In the front, we have, of course, the Thanksgiving cactus. And then last but not least on this shelf, we have another, this was my mother plant of the Monstera Standeliana. We have a Philodendron Hostatum Silver Sword. We have the Monstera Peru, which I love the venations and the texture to these leaves. They look extremely unique, how it kind of like pops out. It's almost like a reptile skin, sort of. And then in the back there, I have a cutting of the Hoya SPIV from WMZ, and you can kind of see on that leaf to the right how the venations pop when she gets sun stressed. So we'll come out of here and go down to the last shelf in the grow tent. Here's where I have a lot of the cuttings that I made. This is just a cutting of some of the Perus, some Standelianas. Then I have some experiments back here. I am trying to root some Hoya, Bella leaves. They haven't died and they've been in there for a long time. I think some of them are starting to root, so we'll have to see if a plant actually comes out of that. Some peperomia cuttings, some more peperomia and Hoya leaves in there. I have a Syngoniums trubii cutting, a Monstera stiltopicana cutting, another Peru cutting, Monstera Peru. Here I have a jewel orchid, Ludicea discolor. She obviously had a lot more leaves, but kind of died off, and my dog kept getting to her before I came up with a solution to kind of keep her away from this shelf. So I'm sure that's what happened to that one. Another beautiful cutting that I made from my Syngonium elbow, again with the stark white and dark green. I love that look. Then we have another Syngonium elbow. This one is a little more fresh, as you can see, because the variegation is more cream. Behind her, I have a Brandy Philodendron Brantianum propagation going. I have a Hoya botanica propagation going. That is another Syngoniums trubii propagation going. And then last but not least in the grow tent, that back there is a obscura, Hoya obscura propagation. So now we will come out of the grow tent, and right next to the grow tent, I have, I believe it's a Aglaonema. I think this is the Aglaonema Silver Bay, or maybe it's Dieffenbachia Silver Bay. I can't remember which is which. I'll make sure I put that on the screen, but either way, this plant is extremely beautiful. Actually, it's neither nor, but I remember looking up the name of this because of the lime green spots it has kind of going through it. It almost looks as if light shining through it. So I definitely will put the name down below for you guys because this plant is really just stunning. Next to her, I have my Monstera deliciosa. She is growing so well. And then we have my Godzilla pothos, or the Epipremnum Shangri-La. I have a money tree that has been growing extremely well as well. I have two Syngonium marbles. That one was a cutting that I made from the mother plant, and she is growing great. She's almost as big as the mother plant, actually. We have a Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. I really love this, and I eventually want to have it like trailing up one of these walls here. I think that would look so gorgeous. We have my Monstera and Syngoniums. I've made a bunch of propagations from this as well, and she is still just monstrous. And then up here I have my Pothos Marble Queen. This is one of my favorite pothos because I just love how the variegation splatters through the leaves. We'll move over here. I have a Ficus McLean. This is another ficus that they do the braided trunk thing with, and it looks really neat because it's so thin. But it's interesting because it almost looks as if it's one plant up there but multiple trunks. So it's a really neat looking plant. Then we have a Majesty Palm. She was a lot fuller, but for some reason I just have a hard time with these through the winter. You can still see she has some spikes coming up, so she's definitely healthy. I really just think it's a matter of watering and humidity. This plant definitely does like a lot of humidity, but you need to water away from the base in the winter because last winter I watered her near the base too much in the winter and she just rotted and fell over. But this winter I'm doing way better. She's still alive. We'll move to this little table. I have a bunch of plants right here. Right here in front of me, we have the Syngonium Maria, I believe. This one has been growing extremely fast for me. She's starting to climb, so I can't wait to see her fill up that moss pole. Here is my Philodendron Perso Verde. We have Peperomia Hope, and she's really trailing well. I can't wait to see her just kind of scattered all over the table. We have a bromeliad, some kind of succulent back there behind her. I really love the burgundy brownish color that kind of runs through the leaves. My Pilea peperomoides. I can't wait till this gets bigger because it just reminds me of like a solar system, and it's so cute. My Phalaenopsis orchid, which is going to bloom. Now I've cut this stem back. This is the second time I've cut the stem, and it's already blooming again and grew some new leaves. Behind her, we have my Philodendron Dark Lord. She has 2 growth points coming in. One over here. And then, of course, this one, which had grown 1, 2, and is now working on its 3rd leaf. So that has been growing really well for me. Also, behind her big leaf, we have the Hoya Carnosa Crimson Queen, kind of just climbing up that ladder trellis there. Next to her is the Hoya Carnosa Crimson Princess, which is circling around another trellis. And I did a video making a different shape, the spiral trellis, using these same materials, and the Hoyas really grab onto those nicely. So definitely check that out. Here we have a Ficus Taniki. I like the way the pink comes. Oh, this is the ruby. The Taniki doesn't have any pink. So this is the Ficus Elastica Ruby. And the Taniki does come in with pink, but the pink fades. So that's the difference between the two. And the ruby, the pink stays, which I love. Here is my Ficus Lorata. I hear everybody saying that these are so finicky plants, but this one has come quite easy for me, and I'm not sure why, but this is, I got this in the beginning of my plant journey, and it was like so easy for me to take care of. She's growing in a new leaf there. Can't wait to see how big that one is, because the leaves have really been coming in at a nice size. And then hanging off this lamp, we have the Hoya Macrophylla Variegata. Another one that gets really nice venations coming through with the edging. The edging kind of reminds me of like burnt paper around the edges, so I love the way that looks. Over here, my Philodendron Brazil. She's growing very well. When I first got her, there was no trailers. She was literally like that, probably even a little shorter on the sides, and now she has a few trailers. We have my Monstera and Syngoniums Blanchettii, which is like a larger leafed version, is a subspecies of the Adansonii. So it really just has bigger leaves and more elongated fenestrations through them. Another bromelia, which is starting to really dry out at the top, but she has a lot of pups, so I'm gonna have to remove those sometime soon. Down here we have a snake plant, Sansevieria. Super slow grower, obviously, but very healthy and very beautiful. Those you have to get big because they just take too long to grow. We have the Philodendron Micans, another velvety leafed plant that also gets that kind of iridescent autumn color to it when the light hits it the right way. And behind her, we have my Dieffenbachia Camouflage. I love the way the leaves look on this one. So stunning. I have 4 more plants left in this room. Hanging in this window, we have the Pothos Enjoy, which is super long, along with the Senecio radicans, string of bananas. And when I also got this one, you can see she's nearly at the bottom of the windowsill. And when I first got her, she was literally maybe like that long. Not big at all. This is a Christmas tree. No, this plant does not bloom, but during the holidays, she definitely gets lit up with lights, ornaments, and even a little tinsel. Last two plants, we have two Syngoniums. This is the Syngoniums argyrius and the Syngoniums silvery Ann. And the difference on these is the silvery Ann just has a little speckling kind of, comes kind of in patches, and it's not really consistent, like it just kind of goes wherever it wants. As you can see, all the leaves are very different, and the argyrius is sort of just speckled dots all over the leaf. No really big patches anywhere. So that finishes up this room. Let's head into my dining room and living room. Over here, I have a Dieffenbachia. I'm not really sure what form of what variety of Dieffenbachia this is. It's really fully green now. It did used to have some like lighter green, creamy color coming through the center. It's obviously in a really low light situation. That's the only window. In that window, we have a spider plant up top and a purple waffle plant down below. And this is the only source of light in this room. Look at the spiderets. I couldn't wait until my spider plant got spiderets. It was like, this is one of those plants that looks like it's growing so slow, and then one day you wake up, it's like, poof, where'd all that come from? A beautiful plant. So we'll move back over here to the living room. We have a giant bird of paradise, golden pothos, which is also getting very long. On my plant shelf here, I have Aglaonema. I see this same one going by so many names, Wishes, Pink Dalmatian. We have a more mature version of the Philodendron Hostatum Silver Sword, Peperomia, Tussifolia, Variegata. Here I have Syngoniums, Silver Splash. Behind it is the Ficus elastica Taneki. So you can see the variegation is the same. The only difference is there is no pink. And you can kind of still see the pink on this one at the top, but it does absolutely fade away as you see in the other leaves. Next to that, I have the Peperomia Red Edge. This is a Peperomia Clusifolia Red Edge. We have a variegated African Violet. This is my Epipremnum Panatum Variegatum. Above, we have my String of Hearts. And this plant does so well with artificial light. This is the only lighting that it gets. And look how purple and pink the backs of the leaves are. And if you haven't noticed by how long it is growing so well with the artificial light. And the artificial light also does well with the Frizzle Sizzle. I was having trouble kind of getting this to curl. So I brought it in here because the String of Hearts the variegated String of Hearts was doing really well with this artificial light. And as you see, I have the tips of the Frizzle Sizzle starting to curl, as well as they're getting very long. Behind her is my Ficus elastica Burgundy. We have the Candyland Caladium. And last but not least on this shelf, we have a Rex Begonia. I think this is the Glitter. My mother plant Syngoniums trubii, which has also been doing very well with this artificial lighting. The leaves have way more silver on them, and it is growing at a faster rate since I brought it in this room with this artificial lighting. And behind her, we have my white butterfly Syngonium. To the other side of the TV, I have my Kalanchoe. my ZZ plant, which they're both getting pretty large. And then we have another money tree, which this is the one where the variegated money tree came in, and it used a lot less light, so it rotted away. This is what was left. So I made that propagation, and she's all lonely by herself. And the golden pothos, which I have growing fully hydroponic, no leca, just water and some nutrients, and she is really growing great. So now that we've finished up with this room, we'll go into the kitchen. Up there, I have a bromeliad all the way at the top. I also did a video on propagating and removing the pups from that. I did one in soil, one in leca. They are both growing really great. I think this one's growing a little slower because the only source of light is that south-facing window, but it's far away from the window. And then the north-facing window, but again, it's super far, and a north-facing window isn't bright anyways, but it's still growing okay. I have a variegated whale fin sansevieria, a variety of a croton. I have some peperomia propagations and a cacti, a cactus, a succulent. Over in my north-facing window, we have a smaller bird of paradise, another croton, some more succulents, kalanchoe. This has grown a lot. It was only like this big when I first got this, maybe a year ago. And for a north-facing window, that has really grown pretty well. And then I have a coffee arabica, coffee plant. This was a super fast grower for me in the summer. Kind of got a little yellow and sort of died back a little bit since winter hit. But this is a really thirsty plant. Like, it needs a lot of water. We'll move to my south-facing window. Here I have a Maranta prayer plant, lemon lime Maranta. I have a Dracena marginata, I believe. This is a very slow grower as well. It's one that you kind of don't notice growing until it, you know, grows enough that you notice it. I have an aloe plant, which was probably half this size when I got it, so it doubled in size probably in about a year. But these plants do really well in the south-facing window. There's that tree behind it that kind of blocks the harsh light. So then I have a jade plant, which also grows very great in this south-facing window. And the last room in the house that has plants is my laundry room here. This is kind of where I do most of my propagations. This is a south-facing window, so I do keep some plants here. This is where I acclimate all the plants that I get in from the mail and whatnot. And I just keep some plants in here just because I don't have room for plants at the moment. So right here in the front, we have the Syngoniums exotica, and I have some cuttings currently rooting in liquid dirt water. Behind her, we have the Mandula pothos, one of my favorite pothos as well, because I love the way the variegation kind of just splashes through the leaves. In the front, we have the pearls and jade pothos, cutting my aunt gave me. So she's rooting, and I think she got a couple roots, but definitely needs some more to stabilize her. This was a cutting of my philodendron Brazil. As you can see, is doing very, very well. We have Dischidia ovata, or the watermelon Dischidia. Here I have Syngoniums silver lady propagations, which took a long time to root. They now currently do have roots, but they took a really long time. Like, I'm talking like a few months, like 3 or 4 months maybe. Or maybe it just felt like it took that long, but they did take a long time. And then I have this is the Dieffenbachia Silver Bay. So that's a cutting of the Dieffenbachia Silver Bay. And the other one that I showed you, that's some type of Aglaonema, which again I will put on the screen. Here I have cuttings of the Rhaphidophora tetrasperma that I had in the other room. That's the mother plant, and you can see these are probably going on a little bigger than that. These are growing better. The mother plants in soil, these are in semi-hydroponics and leca, and these are growing a lot better. That might also be because I have these in a south-facing window and the other one only has artificial lighting really. So that's probably the case. Here's some ZZ plant propagations. There's a coral cactus. It's a type of euphorbia. Here I have, I think, baby's necklace, baby's buttons or something like that. I'll definitely put that on the screen. This is the mother plant bunny ear cactus. And then I have a little one right there and a few other little ones that I've propagated. You can see the one back there is already starting to grow up. She has another pad coming on her. So that is definitely a plus. I have the White Beauty Aloe, I believe, which as you can see has those like speckles or stripes of white in it. Here I have the Cream Illusion Syngonium, which has pink venations running through. You can really see it on that leaf there. Really easy care plant. I have some Sansevieria cuttings, which take forever to root. Here I have a cyclamen. This plant is a really great plant. It flowers in the winter. It's another really thirsty plant, but it's super easy care as long as you kind of keep it really moist. You can see she's kind of spread out and leggy because over the past year or so, you're supposed to cut them back, and I haven't because she just continued to grow, but I'm gonna have to definitely cut her back this year so she can kind of regroup and fill out a little better next year. Here we have Peperomia Moonlight. This is another really beautiful peperomia, and my favorite thing about them is how the underneath of the leaves get red when they first come in. So gorgeous. And how the leaves are sparkly, like they literally sparkle. So gorgeous. Here I have some propagations of the Peperomia Caparata Ruby or the Ruby Ripple. And then here's the mother plant of that. Here you have Peperomia. There's two in here. There's the emerald and then there's the Peperomia Caparata Variegata. They're kind of jumbled up together. Another baby African violet, variegated African violet. I have some regular African violets and some variegated African violets back here. These were cuttings I made from a single leaf. So they are doing really well. They root pretty fast. They grow pretty fast. I root them in water and then transfer them into soil. This was a shamrock plant, purple and green. I have both in here. That's the only thing growing yet. I'm not sure if it goes dormant in the winter or what, but I know at some point they do. It just finally died back the rest of its leaves, but that had popped up, so we'll see what happens with that. We have another variegated African violet, some Peperomia propagations. We have a variegated string of pearls propagating, some Syndapsis Silvery Ann propagations. I have a fuzzy cactus and crown of thorns, which currently doesn't have any flowers or leaves. I'm not sure if it's dead, but we will see. I have a Peperomia peppermill propagation as well as some succulent propagations going on in there. And last but not least, we have two Pilea peperomoides babies that are growing really great, and two Syngonium Thai pink splash cuttings that are growing great. The mother plant kind of died off. I had her in my grow tent and I think the humidity was too high for her, which is, I found a little weird because Syngoniums, I find like a little higher humidity, but I don't know, this one is growing really great right here in the south facing window near this light, and they're really starting to take off. So I'm super excited to have those plants back. So that finishes up all the plants I have here. Let's go head over to the grow tent I have at my mother's house. Okay, so here we are in the grow tent. the View Ascend Grow tent that I have here at my mother's house. And we'll start off with a few of the philodendron I have. So right here in the front we have two of my mother plant pink princess philodendrons. As you can see here, this one is now with 5 leaves, growing its 6th. This one over here as well is on its 5th leaf. 5 as well, yeah. And they both have a lot of pink. They've grown a lot this year and they really do look great. I have a couple propagations that are also doing really well. Here I have the node propagation. If you haven't seen that video, go check that out. It is doing very well. It has a grow point growing here, and also I just took the leaf off of it, a grow point coming out of where the leaf was. This was the mother plant that I propagated from, and this one right here is the node that I propagated off of it, which already has a grow point and a leaf coming out of it. Here's the first node propagation of the pink princess philodendron that I did, and it's putting out its 2nd leaf, and I'm super excited because it's already bigger than the first. Here I have another beautiful pink princess philodendron cutting that is going on its 3rd leaf. It's well rooted and it's also doing super well. We'll move on to right here in the front. This was the philodendron Paraso Verde propagation. Did lose one of its leaves, but other than that, it's doing all right. Here, I recently just got a couple months ago, I got these variegated Monstera and Syngoniums mints. They're both doing very well. They have been growing great for me since I got them. They have been losing a leaf each time they've grew a new leaf so far, but really they're doing well. And I think when summer comes around, they get, they're getting acclimated and they look really nice. I think they'll start pushing out more leaves. We'll move on to the mother plant, the Philodendron Burl Marks Fantasy. This one has also done very well for me this year. I've made 2 propagations so far. The first one here, it's just the 1 leaf that's been rooting and will hopefully soon be pushing out another grow point. And then I have the tip propagation here with its 1st leaf and another leaf getting ready to emerge. My Aglaonema pictum tricolor, as you see, is doing very well. It's getting another grow point. Again, I did a propagation video on this plant. Check that out because this plant is doing so well. It pushed out that growth point. It actually has another growth point coming in right here and has another one under the soil. Both of these, which you saw in the video, but the new growth point is really popping out of the soil. It is doing awesome. So then I have a node propagation of the Aglaonema pictum tricolor. It's doing good. It's still working on rooting, hasn't put out any growth points yet, but it's still green and hasn't rotted, so that is definitely a plus. Here I have my Monstera, formerly known as the Epiprimnoides, currently known as the Esquilita. This has declined since I got it. It yellowed, but is now starting to do a little bit better. I brung it over here to this grow tent because I think it really did need that higher humidity, the more the heat control, and a better light situation. So it did improve and now has this little growth point coming out of it right here. So I have a lot of faith that it will continue to grow and eventually become a plant with some leaves in the near future. Right here you can see I have a collage of strawberry shake philodendrons. They're getting so nice, so pink. They look super pretty. Ever since I put them in this big grow tent with the brighter light situation, they have gotten extremely pink, if you notice here. So all these are doing really great. This, ladies and gentlemen, is my Philodendron squamiferum. This is one of my favorite philodendrons, based on her really uniquely shaped leaves, and they get an even more distinct shape once they mature more. And I also love the way the petioles are fuzzy. It is really awesome and it feels so neat. This plant, when I first got it, she had 4 leaves, but I tried to propagate her right there and they ended up dying. But as you can see right here, there is a growth point coming in, which I'm super excited about because I can now say that this year finished off with this plant growing in the right direction. I have Philodendron Ring of Fire. Again, since I put it in this grow tent, has been doing fabulous. I'm hoping, and I can't wait till it gets some of that nice orangey pink color. We'll go to the second shelf here. And I have a bunch of the Philodendron Red Hearts. I'll pull one out just to show you. They are also doing really well. Some of them have declined, but we got them back on the go again, and they will start to grow. They are starting to grow, and this plant really does look so awesome. Moving on, we have a couple Hoya in this grow tent. We have the Hoya Callistophylla. We have the Hoya Pachyclada New Moon, and we have the Hoya Caudata. As you see, these both declined. They lost all their leaves. This one here has grow points coming in here and here. So 2 grow points, so this will do just fine and will survive. And then this already has a new leaf coming in, so I'm so excited about that. Moving on, we have 2 propagations of the Monstera deliciosa albo borsigiana, both doing very well. I have the mother plant of that right here, again with a new grow point coming in, doing fabulous. We have a propagation of just your standard Monstera and Syngoniums, but it's doing great. It's rooting nicely, and it will eventually have a moss pole and grow on its own. Here I have the propagation of my Monstera and Syngoniums subspecies Blanchettii. We have a Philodendron Hope. As you see here, it's pretty yellowing, but I just recently got this plant to rescue. I saw it was doing poorly, got it for a great price, so I was hoping I could save it. And it is putting out a new growth point right here. So it's already doing great. Right here I have the Philodendron Lime Fiddle. And this has just been stable for me. It hasn't gotten anything new yet, but I think it will start to soon because it does have a great growth point. And I just recently put it in this grow tent. And last but not least, in this grow tent, of course, I have my Monstera Constellation, which is a little bit more of a slow grower, but it has been doing good since I've also put it in this grow tent. And this is the newest leaf, and it is much, much bigger than the rest of the leaves. So this grow tent really has done wonders for all the plants in it. So that does finish up my plant tour to end the year 2020. I hope you guys enjoyed coming on my journey this year, and I can't wait to see you all next year for some more planty content. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you're interested in the content I provide. And as always, every plant's a princess. Bye!